All right, so welcome. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat if you'd like. We're going to get started exactly probably right about now. So if Justin's ready, then
I'm ready.
I will. So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining the session today. This is a short one, so we're going to go ahead and get started. This is from spreadsheets to self-service, building a scalable dual enrollment portal and experience cloud. We've got Justin Carroll here today as your presenter. And so Justin is the Director of Continuous Improvement at Tarleton State University. He brings 18 years of education experience in instructional technology, enterprise systems, and process optimization. He oversees major digital transformation initiatives for the institution and recently led the architecture and development of Tarleton's Salesforce Experience Cloud portal for dual enrollment, which serves over 80 K through 12 district partners. And so let's hand it over to Justin for him to take it away for his presentation.
Thank you so much, Carrie. I appreciate it. So kind of, I guess, to set the stage is what is our dual enrollment? It is called Tarleton Today, and it's designed to support folks that are in Texas high schools. It's an affordable way to really challenge themselves and accelerate college preparation. The students have an opportunity to earn academic credit, and teachers receive professional development throughout. So we'll do a partnership where there's the K-12 teacher, but also a college instructor as part of the courses that students register for. Our vision really is a statewide model where we hope to expand this, and we realized that we needed to ground this in something like Salesforce. So right now we partner with about 80 districts and expect that number to continue to grow. This scale really is what drove us to Salesforce. We needed a foundation that could keep up with the increasing complexity of serving students, serving teachers and administrators, and our own staff. And so I'd like to do a poll. Let me see if I can be successful with this. Which best describes your institution's current state for managing complex partner programs? So if you want to take a moment there to spotlight the poll. Couple of questions, mix of spreadsheets and systems. How are you all seeing that in your institutions? We'll show some results. We were in the same boat. So the top answer is a mix of spreadsheet and systems. So really appreciate that. And let's see, we will close the poll now. Let me make sure I can do that. So we'll not spotlight and unpublish. So thank you for that information. So I want to tell a little bit about the before state. So before Salesforce, we had a lot of we didn't have a reliable or comprehensive picture of where we were at with the data that we had. We were collecting student data into spreadsheets, and often that data was directly from high school students themselves. So you can see that that would be a combination of a lot of issues, and we needed to do something fast. So districts also really didn't have visibility into their own students or teachers and where they were at. Our staff didn't really have a consolidated way to understand the status or the progress, and we knew that there was multiple needs across the program. So it was really a high effort, low clarity environment at the time. And although everyone was really doing their best, we really were reaching the limit of what manual processes could sustain. There was naturally going to be a growth curve. And I realized early that Salesforce needed to be kind of at the operational core of this. It was a technology that we already had, and we hadn't yet made a lot of custom apps, but this was an opportunity for us to explore that. However, we just didn't have the time during our first year to really pivot to that environment. So it wasn't until year 2 that we were able to establish Salesforce as being kind of the end-to-end for the data that we were capturing. I will say that we learned a lot from those early days of the spreadsheets in year 1, and those lessons learned really helped shape the data model that we went with for our dual enrollment program. Like I said, by year 2, we'd improved the process by requiring districts to provide the data. So we outlined in our MOUs and said, these are the data objects that we need you to provide for every single student. That helped, but we could tell that there was exponential growth. And the next thing for year 3, we really needed to introduce an Experience Cloud portal so that our district partners could see the data as well. So we were moving roughly from about 1,500 students in that year 2 to, we thought we were going to have about 3,000 students in year 3. Ended up being more like 4,500. So we were definitely moving, starting from just year 3 to already having over 4,000 students was a lot. So having Experience Cloud really helped with this. Without designing a system at scale, we risked overwhelming staff, frustrating districts, and possibly creating a poor experience for students. And that was really the moment where we said that with spreadsheets need to stop and we needed to look at other options. So what really helped, like I said, with our data model, we stepped back, looked at the design, thought about the architecture. We focused on building a data model that matched the real world rather than the spreadsheet world. Everything in our program, it naturally centered on 4 objects. 4 custom objects is what we put in there. So we were looking at districts, we were looking at campuses, we were looking at teachers, and then we were looking at students. And those really became the foundational set of objects for our data model. All other child objects kind of align and extend to these top 4. The strongest validation of this model is that we brought in a partner to help us, and they were able to understand the model really quickly. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. A group named Elysian, they were here to assist us, and they understood it immediately, and in about 5 weeks helped us configure a Experience Cloud environment on top of that data model. So I would say getting the data model right set us up for everything that followed. Don't have time for poll number 2, so we'll skip this one. But I did want to talk about kind of who helped us in year 3 to set up that Experience Cloud portal. We brought in Elysian. They helped focus on an engagement with us. Their work was important because it helped us solve 2 challenges that required some precision at scale. First, they configured a persona-based Experience Cloud environment where every district, every campus, every teacher could only see the data that was segmented out for them. And second, they helped build a roster upload tool that validated the district CSV files against our data dictionary that we established. This really helped prevent bad data from entering our Salesforce environment, and it gave districts immediate feedback on any errors that they might have had in their CSV uploads. So Elysian's work sat on top of the custom data model that we created. And really, once that foundation was in place, our team took ownership of moving the portal forward. And I'm going to show some examples of that here in a minute. But screenshots tell 1,000 words. So we had, this is a district persona. They enter kind of in the portal, they click on their district, and then we used a few Salesforce flows. This is the one that Elysian helped us with uploading that data workbook. So they upload a data workbook. Once they select that, they select what campus that is for. So we do tell our partners that have multiple high schools that you need to ensure and segment your workbooks by high school, because whatever you end up putting here is going to be tagged to that particular campus. So we do let them know that. And then if it's successful, what will happen is it says it's successful, and then it will give them a record link where they can go to check for any errors, or they can go to see if there's any updates from our team. But that's kind of the success path of what things look like with that roster upload. And really excited for how that turned out. So what kind of makes all this possible? Our student information systems banner, our learning management system is Canvas, and our CRM is Salesforce. Parent portal, where we do a lot of the FERPA management, is done with Campus ESP. And our help desk ticketing system is Team Dynamics, and we're a Microsoft shop. So we needed to see a way to make all of these systems talk to each other, and we've come up with a pretty good idea. So on top of what Elysian built, after that was finished, these were some of the things that we did in-house. Once the districts uploaded everything, we looked at that roster information, and it really evaluated on 2 primary keys. First, we looked at the students' high school email address. And then the state of Texas, for students, does not use socials. They use something called a TSDS number. So that's in place of the Social Security number. So the pathway is if a student meets one of those criteria, they're considered an update inside of Salesforce. If they don't meet that criteria, they are an insert. So we have a student data model, and then when the dust settles, we do connect them to recruit via a lookup field. But we wanted to have just a custom object for some other things that we wanted to ask. So they're not yet added as a contact. Banner, if they're new, will return a university email address, will return a banner ID number, and then we push all that back into the profile of each student. If they're an update, it makes a new recruit record for that particular term. And then we also have the ability for district leads to onboard other district leads, campus leads, and then invite teachers to the portal. It was important for us that they couldn't invite just anyone. So the flow checks the end of the domain name of the email address that they're inviting, and it has to match to the person who's doing the invite. So that's the way that we were able to allow folks to enter the portal without our staff being overburdened. We just put that on the main district lead to do those invites. So what makes all that work? Our middleware that we've been familiar with over the last 4 or 5 years was Microsoft Power Automate. We've also utilized Salesforce Flows. In the Ellucian banner world, we use UC4. We do a few things in Team Dynamics for workflows. For our MOUs, we use DocuSign. And then for student and teacher applications, we've actually used Qualtrics. There's some web service calls that you can do within the survey builder that you can kind of ping pong back and forth to get information to and from Salesforce back into those applications. So that's kind of how we've got this designed to all work for us. A perfect example is after every single meeting that a K-12 teacher attends, they get some continuing education credit of that. And so we send the rosters of those events to Salesforce. It uses Power Automate to actually create a certificate. So it looks for a Word template, creates that file. We convert that file to a PDF. We then get the metadata from that file, and then we push that to a CEU credit record on Salesforce that has the certificate attached to it. When they enter the portal, they're able to see the event that they attended, the number of CEUs, and the certificate as well. Districts were so excited about that they said, can we have a view to see that? So we accommodated so that they could see all the CEU credits of all the teachers that attended. So a lot of this is just lesson learned and finding out from our partners what works best. So wanted to go back to those 3 personas, the district, the campus, and the teacher. This impact, it really showed up quickly. District leads could finally see data without waiting on reports. Teachers no longer had to submit help desk tickets for grade reports or assignment scheduling. Those functions were all now within a click of a button activated from a Salesforce flow. Students, they benefited from having a cleaner data set. So whenever they started the application, there was very few questions that they needed to answer. And internally, our dual enrollment staff, they gained a dashboard that consolidated a lot of these things into a rolled up dashboard view. Previously, all those lived in different Excel spreadsheets. So I would say that visibility really changed how they worked and reduced day-to-day strain. These were the meaningful things that improved for every single persona. Lessons learned. I would say, if I could say to our year one selves, we learned several important lessons along the way. First, I would say focus on maybe 2 or 3 high impact features that solve real pain early. In hindsight, we may have taken on a little too much in a single cycle. For instance, our Canvas integration and a couple of other things could have probably waited until year 4. We got them in. It was kind of a last minute though. So we weren't able to train at the time our teachers and had to kind of produce information to share out. Early uploads from districts, they failed because they didn't necessarily follow the data dictionary. So that told us that Elysian built it exactly right, because clean data in, clean data out. So it took a couple of cycles for school districts to get really familiar with, oh, it's got to be formatted like this. It's got to be formatted like that. Otherwise, Tarleton is not going to accept that data. This really helped us establish the shared expectations on both sides on what the data should look like. Third would be pace your roadmap realistically. This kind of transformation, especially in higher ed, it requires planning, sequencing, patience. I would say, though, when you honor those type of constraints, you get systems that last. Don't have time for a poll because we're 1 minute before we want to ask some questions, but just want to talk about kind of the art of the possible. Our experience portal became the first custom Salesforce application of this scale that we've built at our institution, and it really changed our perspective about the platform in general. We now have a reusable pattern for partner-facing programs that need automation, that need some visibility and trust infused into that. And so the data model, it really gave us that consistency. It gave us room to grow. And this is the kind of transformation that starts with a single program like our dual enrollment, but it really opens up the doors for broader institutional change. So I would say if you're considering this path, start with the data model. It really guides every decision that follows. So thank you. Wanted to have some Q&A, and we'll kind of look at the Q&A. And Carrie, if there's anything that kind of came up in the next 5 minutes, be happy to answer some questions.
Yeah, thank you. So we've got a question from Meredith. There's one that I put in there, but we'll ask Meredith first because I think they're kind of related. Were there any challenges, and let me highlight this, were there any challenges with permissions and Experience Cloud for that district group in particular, self-data versus persona and group data?
That's a really good question. That's exactly why I brought a partner in, because I didn't feel comfortable. I even told our CISO, I said, we're going to have to do a thing, but I'm going to bring somebody in. So because of our data model, every child record was attached to a district, was attached to a campus, to a teacher or to a student, with it all flowing up that way. With us being able to do personas at a district or at a campus or at a teacher, I think because we put in that for year 2, it helped us with that model. So we put in some custom permissions with the Legion's help on each of those personas. And when at the contact object, we had record permissions of, are you a district lead? Are you a campus lead or a teacher lead? And by selecting that particular type, it kind of funneled out what they were going to be able to see in terms of permissions back to the portal. So we made sure that if you logged in and you were a teacher at a campus, you were going to only be able to see students that you were with, or the campus data that you're with. And those 3 personas really flowed on how much information. The district can see everything for the district. Campus can only see everything for their high school. Teacher can only see things for the teacher. So if you're looking at a flexible data model, really think of that hierarchy structure and make sure that you've got that connective tissue between your custom objects.
Great, thank you. So we've got another question from Ryan that is, do students use the same Experience Cloud, and is it an authenticated portal for the applicant?
Right now, for the applicants, we're doing all of that through a Qualtrics survey. So we don't have our students log into the portal. We're treating the portal just as a partner portal with those district leads and campus leads. So students and teachers alike, teachers don't get access to the portal until they finish security awareness training and FERPA training, because they have access to a little bit more. And we wanted to really coach them on what they were able to share with parents and what they couldn't. So their access to the portal comes a little bit later. So with that in mind, that's kind of how we address some of that nuance, if you will.
Great. And we've got one from Nathan of, how did you handle the budgetary implication of Experience Cloud licenses, logins per month versus named users? Our institution is considering going down this path, but are concerned about how the cost could scale.
And full disclosure, we're not yet on Education Cloud. So we're still, we started Salesforce in 2016, and we're a Target X client. So we haven't moved to the name credential yet. So for us, we're using still the packages within Recruit and kind of piggybacking off of the licenses that we get per month on the applicants that we do. We haven't yet had to purchase individual ones for this program, since it kind of ebbs and flows. August is going to obviously be a balloon month, and everybody gets in there, and then it's just going to be month by month how people get in there. But I would share your same concern as you move forward with this, that you definitely want to be mindful of the licenses. And I realize that we've got 1 minute left, so it may be time for one more question.
Yep, we've got one more question here, and it's from Francisco, and he said he's also they said they're also curious about the security. How do you guys manage field level security across different partners? Do you give partners specific profiles or permission set groups?
We created accounts for every partner, and we added the contacts to those accounts. And whenever we did that, we segmented out the data model on those accounts. So whenever we create a district, the child records of the campus, of the teachers and the students all flow up to that. And because it's looking at that account and that contact record, that's how we were able to segment out the populations for our portal. So that's a really good question. So if we hadn't had a strong data model, I think that we would have had to have several rounds with the partner to help us with that. But that was one thing that we didn't have going into that partnership. We didn't yet have the account structure, so we built that out before we invited folks to the. So with that, I know that we are at time. Rapid sessions are always interesting, but really, really excited to provide information about our dual enrollment program.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Justin, for your presentation. Thank you everyone for attending. Please don't forget to fill out the session survey feedback form, and I'll announce this message because it's got the link there for the feedback form. And thanks everyone for coming, and our next set of sessions will start here very soon. Okay, good job, Justin. I don't know if, I guess we've still got folks in here, so guess we can go ahead and log off here then.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. Thank
All
you
right,
so
thank
much.
you.
Bye.